इसका लिंक फिर अदनान साहब शेयर करना है आपने।
ओके, हम लाइव हैं।
We are live now.
Okay, चीमा साहब, we are live.
जी प्लीज। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन, अर्रहमानिर्रहीम, मालिकी यौमिद्दीन, इय्याका नअबुदु व इय्याका नस्तईन, इहदिनस सिरातल मुस्तकीम सिरातल लज़ीना अनअमता अलैहिम गैरिल मग़दूबि अलैहिम वलद्दालीन, आमीन। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी। I'm Ali Saif Chima, Chairman CPD Committee Lahore of NRC, and today we are conducting a session on business process outsourcing. And we at the committee are working for quite some time to conduct the CPD session on business process outsourcing. And particularly in the COVID-19 scenario, it's become more important that people are going for outsourcing the business processes that are non-core, और डेफिनेटली बड़ा लॉजिकल भी है। जाहिर है अगर नॉन कोर एक्टिविटीज़ हैं तो उसके अंदर इन्वेस्ट करने का कोई लंबा चौड़ा फ़ायदा नहीं है। तो इस पे बात करने के लिए हमारे साथ आज वी हैव seasoned professionals and the subject specialists. So we formally start the session from the opening remarks of Chairman NRC Rafkat Saab. Ji Rafkat Saab.
Thank you, Chima Saab. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Session Chair, Vice President ICAP, Mr. Rana Muhammad Usman, distinguished keynote speakers and panelists, able moderator, my colleagues at NRC, worthy members, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and very good evening. On behalf of NRC, it is my privilege and pleasure to welcome all of you in this very important webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, impact of COVID-19 on business is going to be massive and enduring. We are in a rescue mode at the moment and therefore just beginning to fathom the long-term impact on business, profession and workforce. Outsourcing of business process has been directly impacted. Work from home edicts, total shutdown of certain businesses and lockdown in some foreign countries have disrupted normal outsourcing operation globally. It led to an era of offshore outsourcing where resources were plentiful and available at a lower cost. We learned few things in the past few months that will need addressing in the future. As countries began shut down on-site locations and required employees to work from home, several unforeseen but important issues surfaced. Some businesses discovered that their internal networks were not strong enough or secure enough to have people work from home. Outsourced businesses that depend on their clients' network found that their throughput was heavily impacted due to the load on the network. In many cases, workers did not have computing equipment or a stable, fast network access from home. This was intensified in some popular offshore destinations such as the Philippines, India, and Eastern Europe. Almost all outsource agreements require a well-defined and established business continuity plan. It was always assumed that a catastrophe such as fire, flood, or earthquake would be a local and a remote location would suffice. No one had considered the impact of an epidemic on the entire nation and the world. So how will outsourcing change? Overall, just like in times of a natural disaster, it will take time to get back to the normal. However, there will be a shift in strategy and implementation of outsourcing globally. Here are some ways I think it will change. First and foremost, all customers will re-evaluate their outsourcing strategy and implementation. Some will prefer to increase outsourcing in order to deal with lack of on-site resources. Businesses may not consider implementing a portfolio approach. Businesses may now consider implementing a portfolio approach to outsourcing, where the services are distributed among different providers with separate locations on and offshore. The biggest impact is going to be on critically examining how the business's continuity plan is created and tested. Many businesses will examine their offshore options and look at alternate locations. This may give rise to some locations that have not been able to compete against low-cost countries where the infrastructure is a barrier to contribution of service. These are new normal times, and once we get to level of stability, outsourcing customers and providers will and should set up lessons learned and adjust their strategy and implementation. I am sure that after this new normal, many opportunities would be waiting for our members who believe in themselves. To discuss this very important topic and to answer your questions, we have invited very eminent professionals. With this, I would like to thank our distinguished speakers and panelists for taking time out of their very busy schedule and joining the webinar. Inshallah, we are going to have a great session here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rafkat Saab. Thank you very much. Now it's a time for first presentation, and our first presentation is by Mr. Faisal Qamar. He is a fellow member and a co-founder, managing partner of HRSG PPO. फैसल साहब से मेरी बात हुई तो फैसल साहब ने कोई ओवर डेकेड इन्होंने इंडस्ट्री में सर्व किया, फिर इन्होंने स्विच किया और फिर इन्होंने एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप वाली साइड पे आए और फिर एक डिफिकल्ट, या उस वक्त तो खैर प्रॉब्ली हम तो इसको अब नया कह रहे हैं, उस वक्त तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं थी, उस वक्त इन्होंने इसको चूज किया। तो ये जो ट्रांजिशन है, आई वांट के मेरा ख्याल आप इस पे भी बात करें, और फिर जो बिजनेस प्रोसेस आउटसोर्सिंग है और इसके जो प्रॉस्पेक्ट्स हैं पाकिस्तान में और खास तौर पे हमारे मेंबर्स के हवाले से, यंग मेंबर्स के हवाले से, आई एम श्योर आप हमारे यंग मेंबर्स के लिए वैसे एक इंस्पिरेशन भी होंगे। तो ओवर टू फैसल कमर साहब। सर।
Thank you very much, Chima Saab, and it's wonderful to be here, a part of such a prestigious panel. Fareed Saab is here, Iftikhar Sajjad Saab is here, Iftikhar Sayyid Saab here, and the chair. Everyone, thank you very much. And to me, it's a big day, and I'm very happy that this topic finally popped up. And now finally we are able to provide all of us, an approach, towards cost saving. So I'll start, with my own journey. If we can turn the next page, please. Next, please. Yeah, this I will start with my little journey. I served with multiple companies in Pakistan. I served a few years with the government sector, and then I pursued my entrepreneurial dream almost a decade ago. And when I say a decade ago, if you foresee 2008, that was the time, where the whole world under recession. And I came back, migrated back to Pakistan with the mindset that I'm going to service Pakistan because the product and the concept we are talking here, it is a cost saving agent. And at the same time, I wanted to transform this product, by technology. So I set up this firm with the HRSG in 2009. And 2009, I was just sharing with Chima Saab in the afternoon that I was going with my laptop to everyone all across that this is going to happen in Pakistan. And it was a very tough journey. I got my first client after 16 months. And those 16 months turned me absolutely, a different individual, from an accountant, from a business head to, to a salesperson, which, is telling people that this is going to happen. We set up the cloud computing in 2009. And when I was going everywhere for concept approval and everyone was saying you're way too early, because I was looking at the trends globally. It was already about a couple of $100 billion market. And in that couple of $100 billion market, it was very clear that it's going to save, and it's going to distinct between core and non-core processes. And I was thinking that in Pakistan, this concept will go with technology much faster. So those 16 months, made me what learnings I can never forget, because by profession, we all from the finance profession are relatively tough, when it comes to our characters. And from that character, I learned perseverance in those 16 months, because, with the people I was going in their office unknocked, they made me wait for 3 hours outside. So I learned that, when you're selling something, when you're selling your own self, in terms of a new concept, it's a difficult one. After 16 months, I got a multinational converted, and of course, we celebrated that in Pakistan. Now we have enterprise cloud. Now we have business process outsourcing, and then the journey never stopped. In the last 10 years, we converted the number of months that we have. We converted number of clients to there. Now, the number says we are preparing, payroll business close to about 90 billion in Pakistan, and preparing, pay slips close to 135,000 a month. So from there, reaching here, it was a long journey. And, the things go on. So I will start my presentation. If you go next, I will start with the presentation, what I started 10 years ago, when I was going to everyone, the local companies and the multinationals. If you can turn the next slide, please. In that slide, what I put up at that time, 10 years ago, it is so relevant today as well. And when I say too relevant, then once the next slide will come, we will see that. Next, please. This is, the agenda that we will be talking today. What happening in terms of business process outsourcing globally, and what is happening in Pakistan, and what is the outsourcing debate, what we have learned in terms of transition, in the local sector, and then, with the COVID that we just, spoken, what are the opportunities that we have in this crisis. So next, please. Yeah, this is the slide I was talking. When I was going out telling people, I was showing the same slide. The numbers were 10 years old, and I was telling everyone that this concept is going to save, is going to make our business comparative, especially local sector. And with this map, I was trying to tell everyone that it is in our neighborhood. Number one was India, and number two was China. And the last 10 years, the number hasn't changed. And I was telling everyone that it is in our neighbor, and we are talking about business process outsourcing in this country. 10 years down the line, we are still talking about business process outsourcing, but finally, I'm happy that we picked up this subject. And I was, at all forums trying to focus people, on this very concept. And a lot of players like me, they came to Pakistan with the same perspective that this is how the future is going to reshape. And when you have, uneven economic situations, these out-of-box concepts comes, and BPO is that out-of-box concept. So our boundaries are enjoying and redefining their economies with concepts of BPO. And in Pakistan, we have just passed the infancy of this concept. So this map can clearly show you that. If you can just put one more click, please. Then I've shown you the market size, that the market size is today. Just one click more, please. Yes, the market today is now touching about $221 billion in 2019. And if you do one more click, then you can see there the market prediction, which for the next 8 to 9 years is 8%. And with the COVID impact that we can all have experienced, this this rate of growth to me is going to be doubled, because at the end of the day, we will learn to move into a structured cost saving scheme. So it has a lot of potential now. If you can go to the next slide, can you do a click more? Yes, this is the 8% growth rate that is projected. It's a global survey by Deloitte. Go to the next slide, please. This is the reasons, they are unchanged. BPO means, the thing is, you are going to save cost. So the thing is, the first point is that, the reasons why the globe is switching towards BPO is to save cost. So this is nothing fancy about it. At the end of the day, it's a simple, straightforward cost saving, element, and companies globally emerging to save cost on these concepts. And the second one is, which is most critical in my opinion, and for the past 10 years, this is one concept which I'm trying to relate in Pakistan, which that our management must now segregate between what is our core business and what is non-core. In every department there is a core and non-core areas. Then the concept for every organization, why this trend and why these reasons are so powerful, because you're going to save into non-core by handing it over to the expert, and you're going to focus on core. This is the way forward of this world, that you're going to have a lean, mean organization, and anything and everything that you can outsource, which is non-core, you will chop out of the organization, so that you can make your organization sustainable. And the third one is the capacity. That what kind of capacity you want to create in the organization. Then enhancement in the quality of service. The quality of service, when we talk about, the one of the reasons is that when you have any kind of process within the company, your expertise are limited to that, the individuals looking after with that. When you engage in an expert into your business, then your knowledge bandwidth enhances. So when the organization wanted outside expertise, outsourcing was one of the reasons why they went into it. So on. But in this presentation, I will be focused on first two, that the organization, the corporate, especially the local sector, because once we go through this presentation, I'll show it to you that what kind of marketing strategy I adopted to roll out this product line in Pakistan. These are the trends, these two, learning about distincting between core and non-core in finance, accounts payable, and the supply chain process from requisition to issuance of purchase order. These are all considered non-core. Your fixed asset management, this is an absolute a non-core area. And when it comes to payroll, when it comes to attendance in HR, when doing accounting for your provident fund, these all are non-core areas. And these are the concepts which tells you that you save money here and you invest into their core business. So that becomes the whole concept. If you can do, the ultimate objective is to make your organization more competitive. So it's cost saving, and at the same time, you have to distinguish between core and non-core. By technology, over the past 20 years has changed everything upside down. So the thing is, you need to save cost. You need to define your core and non-core, and third, you need to embrace technology. And when I was sharing it in the afternoon with the panelists also, when we put up enterprise clouds in 2009, it was a very unique perspective, because in cloud, in the next slide, I've spoken that what kind of myths we all are carrying in terms of cloud. And then last 4 years ago, when we become digital, when we put everything on mobile, so again I went out for survey that, sir, the future is on mobile. So at that time also, people were telling me that you again speaking something which is not too relevant in that market. And today, we reached about 30,000 active users for an HRMS in Pakistan. So the thing is, it's not that, it's all about bringing it on the right channel. So technology, will play a massive role in transformation of, this sector in times to come. Next slide, please. This is, just to provide you a picture that what kind of outsourcing globally taking place. So if you see down there, this is, the software development that outsourced, over the years, and software application in a lot of companies in Pakistan that are doing software development applications for many companies in the West, through that. There are a lot of IT infrastructure that is becoming outsourced in terms of a lot of HR BPOs that are coming up, and then IT BPOs are coming up, which we are seeing it pretty common in terms of software development. If you can switch to the next slide, please. And this is, an interesting one, that what trends are going to come. IT is one area which has gotten absolutely matured. When you're saying absolutely matured in that sector, it's very common that we are not going to keep our servers in-house. We have companies like likes of Amazon's and Software and many companies where we are pushing these servers out of your organization. So infrastructure outsourcing is there. When it comes to help desk of IT outsourcing, which is very much there. Companies like Affinity, companies like TRG, they have made lots and lots of positives to our overall economy. So what is going to be more into outsourcing, and what is the planned increase based on this survey. Current outsourcing on a global trend is massive. We don't have that much impact in Pakistan, but that has the highest amount of potential to be increased. And the same goes to a finance, HR, IT. These are the three top trends that are coming up, that they are what organizations are doing today, and how these these areas will be increased in times to come. So financial BPOs are going to be the way forward on technology anywhere in the world. It has happened already outside Pakistan, and that trend is quite emerging. And again, I'm talking about the technology is going to play the major role. Next, please. With a global clarity that this is what the way forward. The world hasn't stopped. When we're talking about a market of 221 billion, in Pakistan, none of the global players that exist in terms, and they haven't reached Pakistan. One is that global players, they come when apart from organizations and the law and order situation to set up this delivery centers, to the maturity of market. So far Accenture, these Cognizant, ADPs, these companies haven't reached Pakistan. So the most important part is the learning part is there is an opportunity. If the local perspective has improved, then local global players are definitely going to come to Pakistan. I've been talking to many to bring them into Pakistan as their local firms, and actively speaking to almost all of them. And there's an opportunity for local vendors to bring these brands to Pakistan and bring the competitiveness to our economy in terms of the quality of deliverables. When it comes to companies, we have an IT outsourcing strategy, but still we haven't focused as our outsourcing strategy as part of the management arsenal. When I say management arsenal, I really don't know that whenever we are trying to reorganize a company, why a consultant is not telling the company that you have to have outsourcing as part of your arsenal. Because at the end of the day, if you want to become competitive, you cannot keep everything in your company and still compete with a company in on the next level, which has focusing on all the concepts of core and non-core. So at the end of the day, in local trends, we have yet to reach to that stage where outsourcing is part of the board of directors discussion. Second, at this point in time, the market sizing is different. That I don't have a reliable number to quote at this point in time from all sectors. IT is in the top list in Pakistan, the way they have been doing it in bits and pieces. A lot of companies are coming up. It's not that we haven't done anything. We have done a lot of things in the past 10 years. I have come across a lot of people, for instance, building accounting. There's a specialty firm in Pakistan who is doing building accounting in, out of companies in New York. They have close to about 130 buildings. They're specialized in building accounting in Pakistan. So in bits and pieces, people are doing it. The industry as a whole is still at infancy, but and we have a lot of potential to go. What can we do? The next part is the misconception. Every time we talk about outsourcing, there is a perspective comes in my mind, in everyone's mind, that bahar ka business Pakistan aayega. This is, you believe in outsourcing. I'm part of, a couple of committees also for outsourcing. And every time my debate is that it's all right that, somebody else, will get business in Pakistan. But what about the local organization? We are a 20 million plus market. So the thing is, why we can't be competitive within organization. So why we are waiting that, you know, the only business will come from outside? Why don't we refine and reshape our local sector in Pakistan? And then, you know, the incorrect comprehension and information security, when you talk about cloud, when you talk about, you know, those things where the data is going to be on, you know, somebody else's infrastructure, the thing is, you know, we stop sleeping on that. So there is a complete incorrect comprehension that something is not, you know, secured, and we always make this reason. So this is one of the impediments why, you know, in the local sector this concept is stopping by. The next slide is the most critical slide, you know, which I like to share with a lot of you know, real-time examples that I would like to share with you. Next, please. So the thing is, you know, what I tried, you know, for the past 10 years to find out reasons why it is not happening, you know, the way it is happening, you know, elsewhere in terms of management practices. So I have, you know, tried and figured out reasons from two perspectives. One is the company perspective, and then the what are the available options that we have, you know, in available, you know, with us. The first one, you know, I've from the company perspective is the job insecurity. What I speak about it, you know, it can be, you know, some people might take it differently, but I call that change management. So I will be keep saying what I observed in the past 10 years. So the first of all factor, job insecurity. Job insecurity, when you specialized, you know, concept like BPO, you bring in what the BPO vendor does. BPO vendor, you know what, it specializes in that area, and what they say that your non-core, you know, will be managed with less resource because I am an expert, I have the technology, and you don't need 50 people to, you know, bring it down. In Pakistan, in the last 10 years, this is the biggest factor I've observed. When I go to a company, you know, when I say that your 20 people department will require only 4 people because of my expertise and my technology. So the first thing comes to their mind that the guy is asking me to, you know, let 14 people go. And when it comes to, you know, job security, we have, you know, a very emotional concept to it कि लोगों की नौकरियां जरूर बचानी, और लोगों की नौकरियां बचानी है चाहे बिजनेस की सस्टेनेबिलिटी क्वेश्चन मार्क हो जाए. आप ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के बारे में सोचें ना, एक कॉम्पिटिटर है जिसने जो नॉन कोर में स्टाफ था उसको कोर में शिफ्ट कर दिया और आउटसोर्स करके पैसे बचा लिए, और आप इस चक्कर में आज तक फंसे हुए हैं कि हमने यार 20 को 4 नहीं होने देना. पाकिस्तान एक ऐसी इकोनॉमी है जहां पे नौकरियां नहीं मिलती, तो हमें जॉब इनसिक्योरिटी नहीं होने देनी, और इसलिए हमने ये कॉन्सेप्ट को अप्लाई नहीं करना. और लॉन्ग टर्म में हमें यही स्कैन, मुझे नहीं पता कि कौन सी कंपनी ये स्कैन करती है अपना कि जी मेरे पास इस कंपनी के 100 लोगों में से कितने लोग कोर में काम करते हैं और कितने लोग नॉन कोर में काम करते हैं. और कभी कभी बहुत सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में पूरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का 70% नॉन कोर में काम कर रहा होता है, तो फिर हम कहते हैं कंपनियां बंद क्यों होती हैं. तो हमारे पास जब कोर और नॉन कोर की डिस्टिंक्शन नहीं है और हम जॉब चलाने पे इमोशनल ज्यादा रहते हैं और बिजनेस सस्टेनेबिलिटी को फोकस नहीं करते, तो सर ये रिजल्ट्स तो हमारे पास आने हैं. तो पहला फैक्टर ये, बहुत सारी कंपनीज ऐसी हैं जहां मैं चाय पीता हूं अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन में और मुझे पता चल जाता है कि यहाँ बिजनेस कन्वर्ट नहीं होना, क्योंकि जो वहां मुझसे प्रेजेंटेशन ले रहा होता है वो हाफ द टाइम इनसिक्योर घूम रहा होता है कि ये सारे काम अगर आप करेंगे तो मैं क्या करूंगा, और उसके पास कोई स्ट्रेटेजिक रोल एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करता. उसके बाद फिर वो बोर्ड लगा देते हैं बाहर, और बहुत सारी जगहों पे ऐसा रहता है कि मेरे नाम का बोर्ड लगा हुआ होता है कि व्हेन यू फाइंड दिस टॉल गाय डोंट लेट हिम इन बिकॉज ही इज बिफोर आवर जॉब्स. सो दिस इज वन ऑफ द फैक्टर कि मैं हमेशा जाके कहता हूं कि जनाब आपकी जॉब, आप इन लोगों को कैरियर देना आगे. ये लोग डेड एंड पे बैठे हुए हैं, आप इनको को कैरियर दें रादर देन यू आर एंडलेसली टेकिंग दीज पीपल अलोंग विद यू. दूसरा जो मसला, जो सबसे बड़ा मसला है, हमारे पास कोर और नॉन कोर की कोई डिस्टिंक्शन ही नहीं है. हमने अगर कोई जो है सिस्टम, कोई डिपार्टमेंट जो है ऑटोमेट करना है, हमारे पास एक डायरेक्शन है, इनको बुलाओ बाहर से 4 सॉफ्टवेयर वालों को और इनसे पूरा सिस्टम खरीद लो. हमारे पास कोई डिस्टिंक्शन नहीं है कि भाई नॉन कोर में वी आर गोइंग टू सेव, कोर में वी आर गोइंग टू इन्वेस्ट. सो हमारे पास जब तक ये फैक्टर क्लियर नहीं होगा, जब तक वी विल कंटिन्यू टू इन्वेस्ट इनटू वन बॉक्स एंड वी वर थिंकिंग कि ये फिर संक कॉस्ट क्यों हुई है. तीसरा जो है इश्यू डोमेन फेयर का. डोमेन फेयर किस तरह होती है कि जी हमारे पास ये जो तीसरा और चौथा रीजन है, ये दोनों एक साथ है. हमारे पास एक आदत बड़ी कॉमन है कि जब जो है वो किसी भी प्रोसेस में टेक्नोलॉजी की बात आ जाए तो आईटी टीम को बुला लो भाई, क्योंकि मुझे तो समझ ही नहीं आ रही है बात। अच्छा, वो आईटी वाला जो आता है, उस आईटी वाले का बैकग्राउंड क्या होता है? लोकल कंपनीज में जो है स्ट्रेटेजिक एरियाज का शायद कंट्रीब्यूशन लो होता है। आपने उसको 4 सर्वर दिए होते हैं, 3 आदमी उसके मेंटेनेंस में आपका नॉन कोर का काम कर रहे होते हैं, आप उसे बुलाते हैं, वो हमारी जैसे लोगों की बात सुनता है और हम कहते हैं कि जी ये पूरी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की कोई जरूरत ही नहीं है। तो पहली दफा में ही उसकी कोशिश ये होती है कि ड्रॉप डाउन कर दें, और जाहिर है कि आपकी जो ओनर है उसका, चाहे वो सीएफओ हो, चाहे वो एचआर हेड हो, उसके बाद वो क्लैरिटी नहीं है कि जी मुझे जो है वो इस टेक्नोलॉजी से अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को सस्टेनेबल कैसे बनाना है। तो हमारा जो डोमेन फियर है कि मेरे हाथ से कुछ निकल जाएगा, तो ये फैक्टर भी हमारी इस कॉन्सेप्ट की पेनिट्रेशन में बहुत बड़ा इम्पेडिमेंट है। मेरी आज तक ये समझ में नहीं आया। मैं सीआईओ के साथ बहुत कंसिस्टेंटली बैठता हूं और मैं सीआईओ से पूछता भी हूं कि यार आपका क्या इंटरेस्ट है, व्हाई आर यू इंटरेस्टेड इन लुकिंग आफ्टर द नॉन कोर ऑफ योर कंपनी? Why don't you just let the non-core go out of your domain and you focus on the strategic contribution of the organization? But हमारे पास ये क्लैरिटी आने में बड़ा वक्त जो है वो हमारे पास लगेगा, बट थिंग्स आर चेंजिंग मच फास्टर। सेकेंड, ये जो लाइन मैनेजर की बात कर रहा हूँ सर, आज के सीएफओ को, आज के एचआर हेड को टेक्नोलॉजी सेवी होना पड़ेगा। फ्यूचर बड़ा क्लियर है कि आज से 4-5 साल बाद सीएफओ का रोल और एचआर हेड का रोल टेक्नोलॉजी इंप्लीमेंटर का रह जाएगा, क्योंकि बाकी सारे काम तो टेक्नोलॉजी कर रही होगी। तो हमारे पास आज के जो है वो लाइन मैनेजर को समझना पड़ेगा कि क्लाउड क्या है, डिजिटल सॉल्यूशंस क्या हैं, एआई क्या है, नॉट टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ देयर कॉन्सेप्ट बट टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ देयर एप्लीकेशन। सो इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजीज को समझना पड़ेगा और इनको एम्ब्रेस करना पड़ेगा टू मूव फॉरवर्ड। सेकेंड ये कि अगेन मैंने जिस तरह बात की, मुझसे बहुत सारे लोग कहते हैं कि हमारे पास पेरोल ठीक नहीं चल रहा, हमारे पास रिटायरमेंट बेनिफिट की अकाउंटिंग ठीक नहीं चल रही, हमारा अकाउंट पेबल ठीक नहीं चल रहा, तो यार मैं इसको आउटसोर्स करना चाहता हूँ। I categorically update everyone said this is an incorrect way of outsourcing. Outsourcing is a strategic tool. अगर आपकी स्ट्रैटेजी में आउटसोर्सिंग नहीं है और किसी टेक्निकल रीजन की वजह से आप आउटसोर्स करने जा रहे हैं, तो सर ये स्ट्रैटेजी सस्टेनेबल नहीं होगी। आपको फैसला करना पड़ेगा कि मैंने कोर और नॉन कोर को एज ए स्ट्रैटेजी सेग्रीगेट करना है कि नहीं करना। अगर आपके ख्याल में वो स्ट्रेटेजिकली होगी तो फिर वेंडर सिलेक्शन इज ए सेकेंडरी थिंग। आज अगर एक वेंडर अच्छा काम नहीं कर रहा तो आप जो है वो ये दूसरा काम करेंगे। मेरी सर मार्केटिंग स्ट्रैटेजी बड़ी सिंपल सी थी। मैंने सबसे पहले जो है पाकिस्तान में मल्टीनेशनल्स को टारगेट किया। मल्टीनेशनल को टारगेट इसलिए कि हालांकि मुझे पता था मल्टीनेशनल की जीडीपी कंट्रीब्यूशन पाकिस्तान में इज लेस देन 15%, बट मुझे वहां पता था कि मुझे वहां पे डील नहीं करना पड़ेगा। इस माइंडसेट से मैं जो है किसी हवाले से जब थोड़ा सा कंपैरेटिव हो जाऊंगा, देन आई एम गोना फोकस एंड रीअसाइन दिस कॉन्सेप्ट टू जो है लोकल सेक्टर, बिकॉज लोकल सेक्टर में मल्टीनेशनल की बड़ी क्लैरिटी थी, ये काम हमने अपने पास नहीं करना है, किसी को वेंडर को ही ढूंढना है। तो हम स्लोली ग्रेजुअली वहां से फोकस होकर लोकल कंपनीज पे आए और लोकल कंपनीज अब ट्रांसफॉर्म होती जा रही। पीपल आर टायर्ड of that hodgepodge infrastructure. People are tired of technology blackmailing from all corners. People are tired of customization. So ये factors जो है आप एक BPO vendor के साथ आपके लिए absolutely blank हो जाते हैं। तो इसलिए ये factors change होंगे और ये mindset हमें create करने पड़ेंगे अगर हमने अपनी कंपनी को prospective बनाना है। अब आ जाए available options क्या है। पाकिस्तान में available option क्या है? पाकिस्तान में opportunist का बड़ा concept है। opportunist का concept मैं define इस तरह करता हूँ कि हमारे पास अगर पेरोल आउटसोर्स करना है तो ये नंबर की बात है, चार्टर्ड फर्म्स को बुला लो। अब चार्टर्ड फर्म्स की स्पेशलिटी इस एरिया में हो ना हो, क्योंकि ये हमारे पास एक एडिशनल बिजनेस बन सकता है। टेक्नोलॉजी है नहीं है, दैट्स ऑल राइट, लेकिन ये बिजनेस ले लो। उसके बाद आप उसी मीटिंग में किसी वेंडर को बताते हैं कि जी मेरा इरादा तो आउटसोर्सिंग का है, तो वो आउटसोर्स वाला भी सॉफ्टवेयर वाला बन जाता है। अब उससे क्या, मुझे तो प्राइवेट क्लाउड पे जाना है तो वो प्राइवेट क्लाउड का भी बन जाता है। तो हमारे पास एक अपॉर्चुनिस्ट का कॉन्सेप्ट बहुत ज्यादा है। मेरी स्पेशलिटी हो ना हो, मुझे काम ले लेना चाहिए। और जब आप काम ले लेते हैं और क्वालिटी डिलीवर नहीं होती, आज आपने किसी चार्टर्ड फर्म से पेरोल ले लिया, कल को अगर आपको उसको अटेंडेंस एब्सेंट चाहिए, रिटायरमेंट बेनिफिट की इंटीग्रेशन चाहिए, तो अभी हमारे पास चार्टर्ड फर्म्स का जो कोर फोकस है उसमें टेक्नोलॉजी फोकस होने में भी बड़ा वक्त चाहिए। दुनिया में बहुत सारी फर्म्स टेक्नोलॉजी इन्वेस्टमेंट करने लगी हैं, लेकिन हमारे पास होलिस्टिक सोल्यूशन आपको एक जगह से नहीं मिल रहा होता। तो हमारे पास हर आदमी हर काम करने को तैयार है। टेक्नोलॉजी हर किस्म की बिक रही है सर। 2020 के अंदर डेस्कटॉप टेक्नोलॉजी बिक रही है। आई गेट ऑलवेज सरप्राइज्ड कि जहां पे ऑरेकल ने ये लिख के दे दिया है कि हम 3 साल बाद इस डेस्कटॉप के वर्जन की सपोर्ट बंद कर देंगे, वहां आज भी वेंडर्स डेस्कटॉप सोल्यूशन बेच रहे हैं और कंपनी खरीद रही है। तो हमारी टेक्नोलॉजी अंडरस्टैंडिंग को भी बड़ा क्लियर होने की जरूरत है। मैं क्रिटिसाइज कर देता हूं क्लाउड को बिकॉज आई हैवंट मेड द क्लाउड। मैं जो है क्लाउड पे ही वेंडर आपको मना कर रहा होगा कि जी उसमें तो बड़ी मिथ है, उस पर तो जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। और मुझसे जब ये लोग आउटसोर्सिंग के बारे में पूछते हैं, मैं आपको 2-3 एग्जांपल्स के साथ फिर हम इस अगली साइड पे जाते हैं। 2-3 माइंडसेट थे। मैंने जब सऊदीया में बिजनेस शुरू किया तो मुझे वहां के लोकल ने कहा कि आउटसोर्सिंग मींस आई कट माय फिंगर। मैंने एक लोकल एचआर डायरेक्टर ने मुझसे कहा कि इफ आई आउटसोर्स आई डोंट नो हाउ टू स्लीप बिकॉज नोइंग कि मेरा डेटा इज रेस्ट विद द थर्ड पार्टी। मुझे एक और आदमी ने राइटिंग में लिख के दिया, आई एम मोर कंसर्न्ड ऑफ सेविंग जॉब फॉर द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन देन आई गो इनटू आउटसोर्सिंग, सो आई विल ऑलवेज रेजिस्ट। सो इस माइंडसेट के साथ हम अगर इन कॉन्सेप्ट्स को एम्ब्रेस करेंगे तो थोड़ा सा वक्त लगेगा, लेकिन जब तक हम ये डिबेट स्टार्ट नहीं करेंगे, जब तक हम इस बारे में डिस्कशन नहीं करेंगे, हम लीडरशिप के लेक्चर्स देने से ज्यादा अगर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को और अपने चार्ट अकाउंटेंट्स को और अपने लाइन मैनेजर्स को ये आर्सेनल देंगे कि तुम पैसे कैसे बचाओगे, तो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस आर गोइंग टू बी मोर सस्टेनेबल इनटू इट। अच्छा, पाकिस्तान में ऊपर जो मैं वेंडर्स आपको दिखा रहा था, बीपीओ के वेंडर्स में और सॉफ्टवेयर में बहुत फर्क है। एक्सेंचर सैप का सबसे बड़ा कस्टमर है, लेकिन सैप बीपीओ नहीं है। तो हमारे पास ये जो मिसकॉन्सेप्शन है कि एक सॉफ्टवेयर हाउस कैन बी अ बीपीओ कंपनी, दीज आर टू डिफरेंट बिजनेसेस। यस, ए बीपीओ वेंडर कैन रन देयर ओन टूल। हमारे पास एडीपी की एग्जांपल दुनिया में मौजूद है। हमारे पास जो है बहुत सारी एग्जांपल्स एग्जिस्ट करती हैं जिसके अंदर ये कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर है। बट हमारे पास सॉफ्टवेयर एप्लीकेशन और बीपीओ, दीज आर टू डिफरेंट थिंग्स। बीपीओ इज द फंक्शनल स्पेशलिस्ट, he can run any technology. Accenture provide BPO solution on 5 technologies. That is the only company in the world. वो SAP पे भी देते हैं आपको सर्विस डिलीवरी, वो Oracle पे भी देते हैं और वो Workday पे भी देते हैं। It's entirely up to you कि आपने किस टेक्नोलॉजी पे BPO कराना है, because he is the expert who is going to make sure कि आपके पास solutions हो। पाकिस्तान में अवेलेबल ऑप्शंस में इस कॉन्सेप्ट में ये भी प्रॉब्लम रही है कि हमारे पास सोफिस्टिकेटेड वेंडर्स नहीं आए, तो आपके पास क्वालिटी भी इतनी अच्छी नहीं आई पाकिस्तान में। ये भी एक रियलिटी है। सबने स्ट्राइव तो किया, कॉन्सेप्ट तो दिया हमारी तरह, लेकिन शायद हम सबको अपनी क्वालिटी इंप्रूव करने की भी जरूरत है किसी ना किसी हवाले से। वो भी एक फैक्टर है जिसकी वजह से लोगों का ख्याल है कि आपके पास पाकिस्तान में वेंडर्स अवेलेबल नहीं है। और आखिरी पॉइंट जो मैं ऑब्सोल्यूट टेक्नोलॉजी ऑफरिंग्स की बात कर रहा हूँ, मैं जो है वो पर्सनली और मैं हर फोरम पे सिर्फ ये डिबेट करता हूँ कि जी आज के वक्त में जितनी इंपॉर्टेंट आपको कोर और नॉन कोर समझना जरूरी है, उतना ही इंपॉर्टेंट समझना जरूरी है कि कौन सी इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजी पे इन्वेस्ट करना है जो सस्टेन करेगी। अगर आज भी हम एक प्राइवेट क्लाउड और डेस्कटॉप टेक्नोलॉजी पे इन्वेस्ट करते रहेंगे तो हमारे पास हर 3 साल के बाद एक संक कॉस्ट जमा हुई भी होगी और नया आने वाला ये बता रहा होगा पुराना वाला करके गया है, इस वजह से हम ये आउटसोर्स नहीं कर सकते। तो हमारे पास टेक्नोलॉजी का फैक्टर, कोर और नॉन कोर की जो है वो डिस्टिंक्शन और पैसे बचाने का फैक्टर, दीज आर दी 3 टेकअवेज जो हमें अब बीपीओ के कॉन्सेप्ट को पाकिस्तान में पेनिट्रेट करने के लिए इनिशिएट करनी पड़ेंगी एट अ मच फास्टर रेट। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। दिस इज द जो है कंक्लूसिव स्लाइड। व्हाट हैज चेंज्ड इन कोविड के अंदर जो हमने टॉप 7 डेस्टिनेशंस देखी हैं, उनमें एक बड़ा जर्क रहा ड्यूरिंग लॉकडाउन। और ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ने ये रियलाइज किया और हमारे जैसे मुल्कों के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी बढ़ी। कैसे बढ़ी? वैसे बढ़ी कि जब कोविड हिट हुआ तो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस जहां पे रिसीविंग एंड थी, मैं अगर यूएस में बैठा हूं और मेरी जो है वो आउटसोर्सिंग इंडिया में हुई थी, इंडिया लॉकडाउन हो गया। जब इंडिया लॉकडाउन हो गया और मेरे पास उस इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी की वर्क फ्रॉम होम में परमिशन नहीं थी, या मैं लॉकडाउन की वजह से अपनी ऑफिस पे पहुंच ही नहीं पाता था, तो बहुत लोगों ने ये सफर किया। और जब सफर किया तो लोगों ने ऑफ शोरिंग से इन शोरिंग पे ध्यान देना शुरू कर दिया। और यूरोप में मेरे पास एक बोस्निया की पूरी स्टडी है, व्हाट दे सेड दैट दिस इज द बेस्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर अस टू डेवलप बीपीओ मार्केट इन पाकिस्तान, बिकॉज जिन्होंने आउटसोर्सिंग की हुई है वहां पे लॉकडाउन होने की वजह से उनके मैसिव बिजनेस इंटरप्शंस हुई हैं। सो इम्पोर्टेंट बात यह है कि हमारे पास लोकल सेक्टर जो है वो में अगर माइंडसेट जिसकी हम अभी बात कर रहे थे, वो माइंडसेट चेंज की बड़ी जरूरत है और हमें इस स्ट्रक्चर्ड कॉस्ट सेविंग को एम्ब्रेस करना पड़ेगा, टेक्नोलॉजी को एम्ब्रेस करना पड़ेगा। अनबिलीवेबल अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं, यहाँ पे कोई एक वेंडर या 10 वेंडर या 20 वेंडर काम नहीं कर सकते। हमारे पास अभी सप्लाई चेन की बीपीओस का तो बहुत सारी जगहों पे कोई आइडिया ही नहीं है हमारे पास कि इस लेवल पे भी आउटसोर्सिंग हो सकती है जो दुनिया कर रही है। और साथ साथ जो है वो हमारे पास इस सेक्टर में जो एक पॉइंट मैं ऊपर मेंशन करना चाहता था, मैं जब पाकिस्तान आया और आई एम श्योर जो है वो इफ्तिखार साहब और हमारे जैसे बहुत सारे लोग जब पाकिस्तान आए और हमने जब इस कॉन्सेप्ट को इम्प्लीमेंट करना शुरू किया, मैं अकेला पाकिस्तान आया था और आज हमारे पास कोई तकरीबन 100 के करीब एम्प्लॉइज हैं, तो हम एक पैरेलल सेक्टर जॉब क्रिएशन का क्रिएट कर सकते हैं विच इज मच मोर एजाइल। देखिए आपके पास ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में नॉन कोर में जो लोग काम कर रहे होते हैं, आप एक पेरोल वाले की एग्जांपल लें, वो पेरोल का डेड एंड कैरियर देते हैं। जब हमारे जैसे बीपीओ वेंडर्स क्रिएट होते हैं तो हम सर्विस डिलीवरी प्रोफेशनल्स क्रिएट करते हैं। जब सर्विस डिलीवरी प्रोफेशनल क्रिएट करते हैं, दे आर वेरी एक्सपेंसिव पीपल, बिकॉज सर्विस डिलीवरी प्रोफेशनल को कैरियर ट्रैक तो मिल जाता है, लेकिन साथ ही साथ उसकी ट्रेनिंग 3 प्रोफेशंस में होती है। वो फाइनेंस भी पढ़ रहा है, वो एचआर भी पढ़ रहा है और वो टेक्नोलॉजी भी पढ़ रहा है और साथ साथ प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट भी कर रहा है। अब अगर आप ग्लोबली सारे के सारे लोग एक एनालिसिस ही कर लें, सर्च पे डाल के सर्विस डिलीवरी प्रोफेशनल, आप उसको compete कर लें किसी फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटेंट से, बहुत महंगा आदमी। तो हमारे पास जब बीपीओ सेक्टर स्टैब्लिश होगा तो इस बीपीओ सेक्टर की स्टैब्लिशमेंट के साथ साथ एक पैरेलल आपके पास जॉब क्रिएशन शुरू होगी। अगर मैं बीपीओ वेंडर नहीं लाता, अगर इफ्तिखार सैयद साहब जो है वो इस पे काम नहीं कर रहे होते और बाकी लोग इस पे काम नहीं कर रहे होते, तो हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के जो साइजेस हैं ये एग्जिस्ट नहीं करते होते। तो इसका मतलब ये है कि आपके पास एक बहुत बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है एक एम्प्लॉयमेंट क्रिएशन की बाय प्रॉस्परिंग और क्लियरिंग आउट द कॉन्सेप्ट फॉर दिस वेरी वेंचर। देखिए जो डिसरप्शन का हाल है टेक्नोलॉजी का, हमने जो है पेरोल को एआई में लॉन्च कर दिया है। पेरोल के रिव्यू के लिए अब आपको आदमी नहीं चाहिए होंगे आने वाले दिनों में। जो हम सब मिलके बात करते हैं कि मशीन टेक ओवर करेंगी, वो मशीनें क्या हैं? वो यही मशीनें हैं कि आपके पास इस एक्सट्रीम ऑटोमेशन पे चले जाएंगे जहां पे आपका कितना मुश्किल है एक मशीन लर्निंग के मॉडल को समझाना कि जब किसी की कंफर्मेशन होती है तो उसका पीएफ शुरू होता है और जब पीएफ शुरू होता है तो उसकी टैक्सेबल इनकम ऐड होती है और उसका टैक्स कटना चाहिए। ये एल्गोरिथम पूरी दुनिया डाल के जो है पेरोल जैसे एरिया का रिव्यू सिस्टम से निकाल रही है और इसके बाद आपके पास एंड टू एंड ऑटोमेशन है बैंक क्रेडिट की। तो हमारे पास इन फंक्शंस के लिए जो मल्टीपल लोग रखे हुए हमने, मल्टीपल मुख्तलिफ प्रोडक्ट के साथ साथ वो आहिस्ता 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 या तो आउटसोर्स हो जाएंगे या वो खत्म जो है वो होते जाएंगे। और यही जो है वो अपॉर्चुनिटी हम सबको कैपिटलाइज करनी है एट दिस पॉइंट इन टाइम। और लार्ज स्केल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी बहुत बड़ी है, शायद स्मॉलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के लिए। और मेरा लास्ट पॉइंट यही है कि हमारे पास ये जो ऑफ शोरिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट है, ये कोविड के टाइम पे थोड़ा सा डिस्करेज हुआ है। हमारी ऑन शोरिंग पे हमें मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी। हमें अपनी इकोनॉमी को, अपने माइंडसेट को और अपने लोगों को केपेबल बनाना पड़ेगा टू मेक श्योर कि हम इस सेक्टर को, चाहे वो सप्लाई चेन हो, चाहे वो एचआर हो, चाहे फाइनेंस हो, वी मेक देम कंपैरेटिव और हम अपनी ऑन शोरिंग से एक नई जॉब सेगमेंट क्रिएट कर सके। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। That's the last slide. J.S. Mill, is one of the great English philosopher, and they're saying, I always follow that no great improvement in the lot of mankind are possible until a great change takes place in the fundamental constitution of their modes of thought. So, bottom line ये है सर कि हमें इस concept को embrace करने के लिए change management is critical. और वही इसी के साथ I thank especially जो है वो सजाद इफ्तिखार for conceiving this opportunity. We have been talking a lot about it, and all the panelists and Chima Saab and Asad for making it happen. So that's all from my side, and I hope it is some worth to all the listeners. Thank you very much. Over to you, Chima Saab.
insight into BPOs. And what I understand, going forward, there's a distinction in core business processes and non-core business processes in the businesses and the organizations. And we witnessed that, particularly in COVID-19 scenario. अब companies इसी side पे जा रही हैं और it makes sense. I mean, what's the point of piling up fixed overheads and associated regulatory compliance in non-core activities? So you should focus on core activities, and you can outsource non-core activities, and you can get the expertise in rather, I mean, on very low cost. But what I want to understand that what are the opportunities for our members? So what would be the new service lines would be available for our members? What are the new dimensions of the business for members? Definitely outsource करेंगे तो वो definitely हमारे members में उसमें opportunities तो आएंगी. So to understand that, we move towards the next session, and that is moderated panel discussion. And the moderator of the discussion is our fellow NRC member and partner Grant Thornton, Anjum Rahman, Asad Feroz Saab. So Asad Feroz Saab, over to you.
Many thanks, Mr. Chima. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respected Vice President ICAP, Rana Usman Saab, Honorable Presenter, panelists, NRC members, guests, and audience attending this webinar through Zoom and Facebook. Well, business process outsourcing is the practice of contracting a specific work process or processes to an external service provider. BPO vendors provide and manage an organization's critical or non-critical enterprise processes and applications. The thought process behind this session is to broaden the perspective of chartered accountants, especially newly qualified chartered accountants, females and males alike. Through this session, we are sharing with you real-life examples and experiences of chartered accountants and other highly successful professionals, either rendering BPO services or organizations which are utilizing BPO services. COVID-19 will surely increase the scope of BPO services. The potential of this sector is clearly evident, with the global volume of BPO industry estimated at around $86 billion US, as mentioned by Faisal Qamar Saab in his presentation. In Pakistan, there are tremendous opportunities and avenues for growth in this sector. COVID-19 may also give a further boost to this developing sector. It is also very encouraging fact that services rendered by top 5 BPOs globally including payroll, data entry and management, consulting and financial services, legal services, software development, etc. All these services relate somehow to finance professionals, and it further strengthens the value of this sector and contribution that it can make for all of us. Moving forward, let me introduce our esteemed panel of highly accomplished professionals. We are very grateful to them for sparing time out to share their wisdom with our membership. Our first panelist is Mr. Fareed Ahmed Khan, who has been involved with financial sector for over 25 years. Prior to joining Finca Pakistan as CEO, he spent 10 years in investment management side as CEO of HBL Asset Management, CEO ABL Asset Management, and CEO MCB Asset Management. Mr. Khan also has an extensive corporate experience outside Pakistan, having worked at some leading organizations, and has also been a board member of many large-sized entities in Pakistan. He is MBA Finance from IBA Karachi and also got his CFA qualification in 1998. He is currently the CEO of Finca Microfinance Bank and is managing our team of 2,800 professionals in microfinance and branchless banking space. Our second panelist is Mr. Sajjad Syed, who has over 25 years of experience in diversified areas of energy, IT, and public sectors. Currently, Mr. Syed is the CEO of Excellence Livert Private Limited, which is one of the largest and fastest growing IT services company. It provides IT services in a variety of industries, including oil and gas, utilities, textile, FMCG, pharmaceutical, education, energy, public sector, etc. He has previously worked in Schlumberger, Punjab Information Technology Board, PwC, Oracle, and SAP as the Managing Director for Pakistan. Our third panelist is Mr. Sajjad Iftikhar. Mr. Sajjad Iftikhar needs no introduction. He is working as Chief Investment Officer, Packages Group. He has over 25 years high-class experience of working in large-sized organizations. He is also a member of CPD Committee Lahore. He has been active contributor in ICAP events, including this one. Our fourth panelist is Mr. Faisal Kamar, co-founder and MD, HRSG Global. He gave an excellent presentation today, which may have been very insightful for the audience. Moving towards moderated questions. My first question is to Mr. Sajjad Iftikhar. Sajjad Saab, what do you envisage from the buzzword BPO and how it can be economically viable business line for chartered accountants?
Thank you very much, Asad, for giving us this opportunity. And interestingly, this time ICAP has selected the right timing, like 7:30 to 9, when people are relaxed and they can discuss certain creative things and new things into it. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Faisal Kamar for such an excellent presentation and stuff. Moving out to the specific question that you have asked, before asking that, there are two things one need to be clear. Faisal Kamar Sahab has very clearly said, like, core and non-core activities. We need to think in terms like, I am from a manufacturing company. I was, for the last 10-20 minutes, I was discussing what is core and what is non-core from my organization, and how I can bifurcate a non-core thing and how I can outsource to a firm that may be a chartered accountant firm, that maybe from the people from the fraternity that can use. And interestingly, what is the specialist role that will be required to do that non-core activity? And that is a one significant distinction that one needs to look at. And importantly, what is BPO? Is it any different from data process outsourcing, transaction process outsourcing? And what is the difference between these two things? One need to be clear before going into practically how the BPO would look like. So coming to first thing, what is the core and non-core? From a manufacturing perspective, yes. For example, healthcare services, like for every manufacturing concern, it's a very good tool to engage the employees. But shall the organizations continue to hold their own clinics within a manufacturing concern and providing facilities to that, or to go to an outside insurance provider? If they go to an outside insurance provider for their healthcare benefits, then this is a business process outsourcing. When it comes to, again, like security services is also a very much mandatory thing for a manufacturing concern. But once they go for an outsourcing of that, yes, it's a non-core activity again. Again, logistics. This is the third thing for a manufacturing concern that can be. So there are a lot of business processes that a manufacturing can think of considering it as a non-core yet essential for their businesses that can be outsourced, and that needs to be given to specialist roles. Like a security firm, a security activity can't be given to anyone else other than a person who can handle security. And similar is the case, like healthcare claims cannot be given to an insurance company that has nothing to do with the insurance type of healthcare benefits thing. So these are the two bifurcations one needs to look at. And secondly, in terms of transaction processing, there is one very good slide that Mr. Faisal Kamar has used into his presentation. May I request Faisal Saab and anybody who is handling the IT side, can we just have a look at a slide of Mr. Faisal Kamar that shows the various trends? I believe it was slide 4 or 5. If we can go to that. Next one, please. This one. Not the previous one, previous one. Previous one. Previous one. Exactly. So for time being, just forget about the percentages that are mentioned on this slide. Just forget about the ranking that has been given on this slide. The most important thing, deliver the right expertise. Once we are thinking of outsourcing, for example, payroll outsourcing, we need to give it to a person that is capable of handling it. And this will help in what? Enhancing the quality of services. For example, the business processes that are there in multinational companies are very much enriched, very much polished, and very much control savvy. So once you outsource, for example, a payroll thing to a BPO organization, you are building a capacity to that BPO organization. That capacity will not only be used by these large size multinational companies. That BPO firm can provide that services to operators operating in SME industry as well. So while the SME industry guys are not that much, I'll not say they're not intelligent, they are very wise people, they are doing their businesses, but their systems need certain upgradation. And this BPO will provide a platform to these people where they can upgrade the facilities of partners operating in SME sector. Like think of the companies that are having turnover of around 300 million, 500 million, and 600 million. They'll be getting the same level of service which a company having $1 billion sales is getting. So that is how the capacity will be building and will be helpful for the overall economy. So a second important thing is cut down of the cost. Cut down of the cost is the eventual step that is going to be there, that will come in. So there is much talked about how to change the mindset. Very simply, how we change the mindset in our organization. The person who was doing that type of a work, we asked him a simple question: do you like it doing it yourself, or do you want to monitor it that the other person is doing it rightly or not? You are experienced enough, you have 15 years of experience of managing the payrolls and retirement benefits. Shall we give you a job of not doing this thing? You just need to monitor it. And since you know ins and outs of this business, may I request you to develop an SLA? What is SLA? That is a service level agreement. Just write how many payrolls per month, how many reports per month, and how many overtime checklists you need to give to the other outsourced firm per month. So you are giving him a sense of authority versus the type of work that he was doing earlier. So he'll get a service level role. And now, yes, there is a lot of brainwashing that requires to be done into that person to move into that role. But that is what the HR development process is all about. And now moving on to from business process outsourcing to transaction outsourcing. I'll just give you a simple example because I have already taken 2 to 3 minutes out of that. For example, once we have outsourced that payroll thing to a simple vendor, what type of value they have added? A traditional system was capable. Yes, there is a traveling claim of a person, 300 rupees. He comes in, he submits a voucher, the accountant makes an entry into the system. Now he'll go to the cashier, get that 300 rupees. Not only the IT system, what these companies add. Look, one person needs to prepare one sheet per month. As an employee, I need to prepare one sheet for 1 week in which I'll be submitting all of my traveling claims, all of my entertainment claims, and all of my other business related expenditure that I have incurred in that 1 week. So that is what? That is a one-time document. And now all the funds that I have expensed on behalf of the company will be directly credited to my bank account. Look at how the number of transactions are reduced. Instead of having 10, 20, 30 transactions per person, you are having one transaction for 1 week. Here comes the law of large numbers and reduction of costs. So that is my view, how our professionals can add value to this system. There is immense value to this business line. And these BPO firms bring that visibility into the system. Like the people that Mr. Faisal Kamar has mentioned, like service delivery professionals, why they are that much paid? They are that much paid because they are adding that much value to simplify things. So, Asad, that was on my side. I think I have been able to contribute something on that point.
Thank you, Sajjad Saab. We will keep on taking your input. So moving on to Fareed Saab. Fareed Saab, you being from the financial sector, can guide our members how financial sector is utilizing BPO or outsourcing services. And importantly, do you see any potential of these services to be outsourced to finance professionals? Fareed Saab.
Thank you, Asad. And once again, I appreciate the opportunity to represent FinCA and share the views. I think we can safely say that the financial institutions were the pioneers or in the first wave of organizations who embraced this concept. And it was, back in late 80s, early 90s, the concept of especially customer services and call center outsourcing became very popular. So, in case of financial institutions, especially banks, it's quite easy to distinguish between the front and the back office. So naturally, it came that banks were one of the first ones to experiment with this. And one thing which I want to highlight here is that it doesn't necessarily mean that the services were given to third parties outside their borders. In many cases, they were within the borders. And a lot of large banks like HSBCs and Citibanks of the world, they very clearly carved out certain responsibilities, and they were outsourced within their borders in the country. But to those specialists who were able to do it much better and in a much cheaper fashion. Over a period of time, as technology improved, communication technology and computing power enabled financial institutions to then cross the borders. And once, a service that was outsourced to a company 50 miles or 100 miles away, suddenly you were able to outsource this thousands of miles away. And hence we saw a mushroom growth of BPO factories in Eastern Europe and then Southeast Asia. And then this trend is still growing. I think financial sector will continue to follow this wave. We are now moving into a second generation of reforms as the computing power and telecommunication technology has further improved. The advent of artificial intelligence algorithms is now enabling financial institutions to even outsource a lot of value-added functions like risk management, credit scoring, to people who can do this job much better than the financial institutions. So, that distinguishing factor, which was a popular concept that only back office functions can be outsourced, is now slowly changing, and even value-add services are now being, rapidly being outsourced. So this is a great opportunity for finance professionals, because while somebody with the HR capability or somebody with the call center capability can easily outbid you in certain areas, your expertise and understanding of financial concepts and your training as a risk manager or a person whose ability to manipulate data will allow you to compete for value-added services. So I think the second generation of these BPO functionalities is creating very exciting opportunities for finance professionals. And our people should be able to take advantage of it. And this time around, I think it's not the generic or cheap services that are being offered for processing. It's actually the value-add services. So the canvas is actually very wide, very exciting, and very profitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Fareed Saab, for the wonderful insight. Now I move to Sajjad Sayyed Saab. Sajjad Sahab, your organization is a provider of BPO services. Can you share with our audience your practical experience of running a BPO and the key facets of its success? Sajjad Sahab.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. First of all, need to thank the audience. It's been a wonderful experience. Faisal Saab, Fareed Saab. We started about 10 years ago after I left SAP, and our initial area, we do basically SAP and Oracle and e-commerce implementations, and then we do outsourcing of variety of functions. Historically, we started with our BPO business, which we started about 10 years ago. Historically, we started with IT outsourcing. So we went to most of like FMCGs, local FMCGs, we initially focused. And we found some very dynamic people. And our idea was, because that particular SAP management, that skill set was in a lot of dearth, and the local companies were finding it extremely expensive to hire those professionals. And we did a little survey here, and we found out that 60 to 7, once the systems are running, 60 to 70% of the time of those in the IT department was, I mean, the guys were actually doing nothing. They were just sitting there waiting for some fault to happen. So we turned around and we said that, look, I went, मैं CEO साहब के पास गया और मैंने बड़ा frankly उनसे बात की. मैंने कहा जी देखें बात सुने, अगर आप एक बंदे को 3 से 4 लाख रुपए तनख्वाह दे रहे हैं, 5 आपने बंदे रखे हुए, 15 लाख रुपए per month आपका payroll है. If you can outsource this to us, I can give you at half the cost. And I was able to make 3 or 4 such sales, knowing full well that I will be able, at any point in time, about 35 to 40% मेरे लोगों का time इस्तेमाल. So for him, it was absolutely a no-brainer to all of them. And slowly but surely, we were able to build it over time. We now, alhamdulillah, have about 40 to 50 customers, about 60 customers now as of last count, both in Pakistan and outside of the country, in Saudi Arabia and so on and so forth. After IT, we slowly moved into other areas. For instance, we went into finance, we went into HR, and we kept on going. Then we went into e-commerce. So our target initially was to replace, was cost cutting, just like most of the others. In certain markets that we go, for instance, in Saudi Arabia and all, there is still a great opportunity, and there people are still looking at cost cutting, but they are looking because of statutory and legal reasons. Because of immigration, there are certain Saudiization processes which are starting. They cannot hire outsiders. Ikamas are becoming more and more difficult. So they outsource a lot of finance work to Pakistan, a lot of IT work to Pakistan and India. So that's every country, every economy has a different sort of reason to outsource. Personally, I believe that now the market is changing, or it was changing pre-COVID. Historically, we were doing predominantly on costs. So that was a predominant sort of reason for us to go into outsourcing. Now, a lot of mundane work because of AI is changing. For instance, very recently, Securities and Exchange Commission, we implemented the first AI-based, conversational AI-based chatbot. So अगर आप अभी Securities and Exchange Commission की website पे जाएं और वहाँ से कोई question पूछें online, तो वहाँ पे इंसान आपको जवाब नहीं देता. एक chatbot है जो हमने implement किया है और वो आपको statutory और legal बातें बता रहे हैं. उसके next phase में वो उर्दू और Roman उर्दू में भी आपको जवाब देगा. So a lot of call center type of work, जिसमें outsourcing reason ये था कि cost cutting हो रही थी या so on and so forth, वो अब change हो गया. वो AI, इस किस्म के बहुत सारे mundane tasks जो हैं वो AI पे चले जाएंगे. However, जो value added काम है वो शायद to a certain extent रहेंगे. इस वक्त we are focusing more and more on value added work, more and more on quality of delivery. So the entire BPO market we are seeing is going to change. Within COVID, for the last 6 months that we've seen, we have seen an exponential growth. I hope we are not an outlier on this. We have seen an exponential growth, especially from North America and Europe, for our BPO business. There are very reasons for this. One of them, of course, is cost in this particular area. Historically, a lot of that work used to go to India. So we had a few lucky breaks. And because of our internal 6-7 years ago, we invested in not only just shared services center, but in remote delivery center and how people can work from home. उसकी रीजंस हमारे कुछ और थे, पर अभी काम आ गए. So we had set up a system based on, because of our Karachi office 6 to 7 years ago, अगर आपको याद हो तो बहुत सारे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चरल इश्यूज थे, बारिशों का बहुत सारा इशू था, और हमारा ई-कॉमर्स का एक बिजनेस था जिसके बहुत सारे इश्यूज थे. So we had a organizational mantra that no matter what happens, every person should be functional whilst he's at home. So हमने जो अपने मेन लोग थे या शेयर सर्विस सेंटर के लोग थे, उनको इनेबल किया कि उनके घरों के अंदर भी उनके पास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हो कि वो काम कर सकें. That worked wonderfully for us during the COVID situation, and we were able to seamlessly deliver projects. We were able to seamlessly continue. but 1 minute का भी downtime नहीं हुआ during this COVID scenario when our employees were working from home. Just to give you an example, इस वक्त हम तकरीबन 6 SAP के projects और Oracle के projects कर रहे हैं, जिसमें एक बंदा भी ऑन साइट नहीं. एक तो पैकेजेस में सजाद इफ्तिखार साहब का भी प्रोजेक्ट हो रहा है जिनमें से एक है जहां पे टोटल टीम जो है मेरे ख्याल में लेस देन 10% ऑफ द टाइम उनका ऑन साइट है, बाकी सारा काम उनका ऑफ साइट है. सो वी वर एबल टू डिलीवर दैट वेरी वेल. उससे हमें कुछ कॉस्ट कंट्रोल भी होता है और वही कॉस्ट सेविंग्स हम कस्टमर को भी पास ऑन कर सकते हैं. सो आई बिलीव दिस एक और चीज जो हमने इसमें देखनी है कि BPO के business में, if some of the students and youngsters are looking at getting into that, you have to rely on technology. You absolutely have to rely on technology. आप उसमें investment में cost cutting ना कीजिए, rationalize जरूर कीजिए, but you will need tools and technology to seamlessly deliver to your customers. You have to be a thought leader. Now you have to consider yourself as an integral part of customer. Just to give you an example, हम एक दो FMCGs के जिनकी हमें IT आउटसोर्स है, जब वो अपनी सेल्स लगाते हैं रमजान के अंदर या अपनी सेल्स लगाते हैं नॉर्मल पीक सीजन्स के अंदर, we know them before their employees. और हम लोग अपनी सर्विसेज को, अपनी वर्कफोर्स को उसके मुताबिक ज्यादा या काम कर सकते हैं. So when you outsource, you have to become a strategic partner, an extended arm of that organization. और उसमें जो अगर आप आउटसोर्स कर रहे हैं, यू स्टिल हैव टू नो दैट उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ आपका सिर्फ वेंडर वाला रिलेशनशिप नहीं है. इट इज नॉट अ कस्टमर वेंडर रिलेशनशिप. इट इज नाउ दैट थर्ड पार्टी, दैट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, दैट BPO partner or vendor is just as integral to your organization as any of the other departments. So agar and that requires a strategic change in mindset for your vendor. Because अब वो customer vendor वाला चीज नहीं है, exploitative relationship नहीं हो सकता, value added relationship. कुछ आपको उनकी बात समझनी पड़ेगी, कुछ उनको आपकी बात समझनी पड़ेगी. So ये एक बहुत important outsource करने के लिए भी एक strategic level of maturity चाहिए होती है, और outsourcing organization को चलाने के लिए भी एक strategic level of maturity होनी चाहिए, because आपको भी customer के लिए 2-3 कदम आगे जाना पड़ेगा और customer को भी शायद 2-3 कदम आगे चलना पड़ेगा आपके लिए. So ये एक business का nature is very different. अगर आप टिपिकल IT ऑर्गेनाइजेशन चला रहे हैं, फॉर इंस्टेंस हमारे यहाँ जो आउटसोर्सिंग डिपार्टमेंट है वो है ही हमने अलग कर दिया, बिकॉज उसके लिए एक बहुत फर्क माइंडसेट चाहिए कंपेयर टू योर टिपिकल IT सेलिंग, टिपिकल टेक्नोलॉजी सेलिंग. ये 2-3 एलिमेंट्स है. दूसरा, IT के आउटसोर्सिंग के अंदर यू हैव टू लर्न दैट नाउ यू आर अ थॉट लीडर. कस्टमर अपने इंटरनल आदमी से इतना एक्सपेक्टेशन उसकी नहीं होती जितनी एक आउटसोर्स वेंडर से होती है. Consequently, you have to remain current on technology. You have to remain current on whatever you have outsourced. So, अगर HR है, outsource हुआ है, तो HR की आपको modern practices पता होनी चाहिए. अगर finance outsource किया हुआ है, तो आपने customer को बताना है कि ये नई finance की चीजें आ गई हैं. अगर IT outsource किया हुआ है, तो as an service provider, you have to lead the customer in that. कि सर ये भी 3-4 नई चीजें आ गई. Please, in any case, do technology is a need now. उसको आपने embrace करना है. You cannot fight it. फैसल साहब ने अपने उसमें क्लाउड की बड़ी अच्छी स्टोरी सुनाई. I remember जब मेरे से अक्सर लोग IT के forums पे मैं होता हूँ, तो लोग मेरे से आके कहते हैं कि क्लाउड के बारे में आपकी क्या ओपिनियन है, and I turn around and say कि मेरी जो भी ओपिनियन है उससे क्या फर्क पड़ता है. It doesn't make a difference. It's out there. It's reality. जब मुझसे पूछते हैं मोबाइल कंप्यूटिंग के बारे में आपका क्या, what difference does it make मेरी क्या ओपिनियन है, मैं अच्छा समझता हूँ या बुरा समझता हूँ. It is a reality. You have to embrace it. There is no choice. So we can fight it as long as we want to, but it would be a fool's fight. So with this, I think the various facets अगर मैं इसको करूँ तो एक, please be open to technology, be a thought leader to your clients, invest in yourself, and absolutely, absolutely, you have to be a partner to your customer, nothing more and nothing less. आप उनकी organization की success और आपकी success is seamlessly अब वो एक ही चीज है, अब वो अलग-अलग नहीं हो सकती. Thank you.
थैंक यू सजाद साहब, आपने बड़ा एप्टली इसको समराइज भी किया और बड़ी अच्छी बात कही स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनर की. बिफोर आई गो फर्दर, चूंकि हमारे साथ फैसल कमर साहब भी मौजूद हैं और बड़ी ज़बरदस्त उन्होंने आज हमें एक प्रेजेंटेशन दी. फैसल साहब, आपका सक्सेस मंत्रा क्या था? सजाद साहब ने तो बताया, कुछ आप भी हमारी ऑडियंस से शेयर करें क्योंकि दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट लर्निंग कर्व फॉर देम. फैसल साहब.
असद साहब, जो है मंत्रा जो है वो इसको आई डोंट नो सक्सेस कहते हैं कि सक्सेस नहीं कहते, बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे एम्बिशंस बहुत बड़े थे. मेरा हमेशा से जो है वो एक कॉन्सेप्ट रहा है. मैंने अमेरिका में एक उनकी जो वाहिद खातून चीफ जस्टिस थी, उनके जो है वो डेस्क पे पढ़ा, माइट बी रॉन्ग बट नेवर इन डाउट. सो ये जिंदगी में मुझे बहुत दफा काम आया. जहां जहां मैं जो है वो सोचता रहा तो मैंने कहा गलत होने में कोई हर्ज नहीं है, लेकिन जो है वो आपने अगला स्टेप बढ़ाते जाना है. और एट द एंड ऑफ द डे एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की लर्निंग सिर्फ यही है कि आप जो है वो कंसिस्टेंट रहें. और हमारे जितने नए जो है चार्ट अकाउंटेंट्स, यंग चार्ट अकाउंटेंट्स हैं, हम सुबह भी इस बारे में बात कर रहे थे. आई जस्ट वांट टू टच बेस ऑन दैट कि जो है वो आपकी फाइनेंस प्रोफेशनल का इवेंचुअल लैंडिंग जो है वो एरिया इज नॉट ओनली फाइनेंस डिपार्टमेंट. नाउ आज के फाइनेंस प्रोफेशनल की डिमांड जो है वो हर जगह है. हमारे पास अगर मैं अपने 100 लोगों को क्लासिफाई करूं, मैं अगर सर्विस डिलीवरी डिपार्टमेंट का सिर्फ क्लासिफिकेशन करूं, मेरे पास 75% फाइनेंस प्रोफेशनल बैठा है. मेरे पास 25% बैठा है जो कि किसी और प्रोफेशन से बिलोंग करता है. सो आज का फाइनेंस प्रोफेशनल सैप भी लगा रहा है. आज का फाइनेंस प्रोफेशनल जो है वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जो है क्रेडिट्स के भी काम कर रहा है बैंक्स में. और अब वो जो कन्वेंशनल माइंडसेट है कि मैंने फाइनेंस पढ़ा है तो मुझे फाइनेंस डिपार्टमेंट में होना है, इसके ब्रेक होने का भी टाइम आ गया है. और अब हमें जो है ये जरूर देखना चाहिए कि एट द एंड ऑफ द डे मेरे करियर की प्रोग्रेशन कैसे हो रही है, बिकॉज ये प्रोफेशन तो 100% आना है. तो मेरी तरफ से तो सिर्फ जो है मंत्रा ये है कि सर आप जब अपने ड्रीम्स किसी को बताएं तो वो बड़ी जोर से हंसने लग जाए, तो जिससे आपको पता चलता है कि आप बात ठीक कर रहे हैं. तो whenever I was talking about my dreams, people around me, they were laughing. So I was always knew that I'm doing something, which is not everyone is thinking. So बस यही सर 2 बेसिक क्राइटेरियाज के साथ आप मेहनत करते रहें और एट द एंड ऑफ द डे ये प्रोफेशन ऐसा है और यहाँ कमिटमेंट ऐसी है जिसके नतीजे में आप आगे जरूर बढ़ते हैं. That's all from my side, sir.
If I may add, just to tell you about my organization, I have more finance people than I have IT people in my organization. And we are an IT company. Just to carry on Professor साहब, देखें जो मैं फाइनेंस वाले या चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट से चाह रहा हूँ ना, I am looking for his analytical skills, I am looking for his leadership skills, I am looking for his ability to learn. ये 3 चीजें मुझे चाहिए. कुछ पीछे से आपने जो मर्जी पढ़ा, ये 3 अगर स्किल सेट्स हैं, एनालिटिकल एबिलिटी है, एबिलिटी टू लर्न न्यू थिंग्स है और लीडरशिप है, बाकी हम सिखा देंगे. वो टेक्नोलॉजी इतनी जल्दी चेंज हो जाती है, चीजें इतनी जल्दी चेंज हो जाती हैं कि वो अगर आपने आज से 5 साल पहले सीए किया भी था तो ठीक है, अच्छी बात है, आपने सीख लिया, आपके पास नॉलेज है, बेसिक नॉलेज है, आगे नई चीजें हमने आपको सिखानी. ये 3 एबिलिटीज है, विल रन विद यू.
तो बस I just want to जो है वो add one thing जो फरीद साहब ने कहा बड़ा relevant था. तो फरीद साहब ने कहा कि अब आप बैक एंड सर्विसेज और नॉन कोर की जगह अब आप कोर पे भी आ जाएं किसी ना किसी हवाले से. सो मेरा फरीद साहब को सिर्फ ये कहना है कि सर जो है वी विश के ये ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन तेज से तेज हो, बट जैसे आप बता रहे हैं पॉइंट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट अब नॉन कोर और कोर का डिस्टिंक्शन भी डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमीज में खत्म होता जा रहा है. वैल्यू एडेड सर्विसेज की बात होने लगी है. तो जो पॉइंट व्हाट यू आर मेकिंग is absolutely right. अल्लाह करे हम उस ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के पेस में इस माइंडसेट को जल्द से जल्द चेंज कर सकें. बैक टू यू सर.
सर जस्ट टू बिल्ड ऑन फैसल साहब व्हाट यू हैव सेड, जो अभी फरीद साहब ने भी कहा, अब जस्ट थिंक अबाउट पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजमेंट. इट्स नाउ बीइंग आउटसोर्स्ड टू म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री. इट्स द म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री, they are, it's a specialist role, and once it's a specialist role and mutual fund industry is doing it as an outsourced service partner. And for other finance roles, shared service center is one thing that the group of companies are operating to operate their normal business processes, purchases, payables, sales, receivables. So that is also housed in. So it's the next level that the people are moving to.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sujat. I just want to take Farid Saab back into the loop. He has been quiet for a while. Farid Saab, from your last answer, I picked up the concept जो shared services centers हैं जिनको आप लोग utilize कर रहे हैं especially financial institutions में जो consolidation का impact एक वहाँ से आ रहा है. Sir, what is your experience in this regard? Can you share something about shared service centers with our audience and the concept behind it?
Yeah, certainly. Shared service center is like a unit which provides certain back office services or so-called non-core services, but to internal clients. Or ये concept usually it's applicable in large organizations which can afford to pool resources and put together a BPO unit somewhere where it is cheaper to operate, where intellectual capital is available, and you have sufficient infrastructure to run such services. For example, Finca has shared services centers globally, a couple of them. The nearest one from Pakistan is in Georgia, where some of our services are maintained, like IT security, internal audit, and certain financial functions. So, from one shared service center, they are able to serve, 7-8 countries, or usme, you achieve a couple of objectives. Obviously, there is sharing of costs, so you are able to, reduce your cost base. The second is that there is a pool of knowledge that is available within the organization, जिसमें cross sharing रहती है views की. So if something is relevant in Pakistan, it can be replicated somewhere else in Jordan. If there is a new development in Kazakhstan, it can be applied to other countries also. So there is a common sharing of resources. And then you also have the safety and security, because you're dealing with client data. So you are able to ensure that in certain ways all these things are taken care of. So this shared service center is quite popular, but unfortunately, जैसे मैंने कहा, उसके लिए your organization needs to be of a particular size to afford this luxury. But if you are able to afford it, then it definitely provides you a very cost-effective and a highly efficient setup, जहाँ पे आप अपने लोगों को भेज भी सकते हैं for training, for their career progression के आपके पास opportunities हो जाती हैं, and there is, as I said, sharing and pooling of resources. Before I conclude, I think ये जो कुछ points इससे पहले भी highlight हुए थे regarding outsourcing of value-added service and Faisal's comment regarding how it can be expedited. I think the market forces and especially this wake-up call from COVID is going to expedite a lot of things. And this is very true that there is no point in standing up towards a wall of tsunami. अगर वो आ रही है तो वो आपको ले जाएगी. You better prepare for it, otherwise it's going to sweep you away. So we have already seen it in our developed markets, where a lot of value-added functions, especially as I was mentioning in risk management, credit decisions, they are actively being outsourced. और एक जो पहले कॉन्सेप्ट था, अगर हम 20-25 साल पहले चले जाएं, तो if you had good English language skills, if you were able to operate a computer or a particular program, you were capable of running an outsourced center. अब वो चीज डिफरेंट होती जा रही है. You now need more intellectual capital, जैसे सजाद ने भी कहा कि chatbots और इस तरह की जो algorithms हैं, if you are able to develop them, then you can provide a service which simply language skills cannot compensate for. So I think that's a very exciting new page that is turning for financial professionals, because by training, if they are able to manipulate data, if they are able to have an analytical mind, if they are able to develop this skill set of providing these risk management, credit scoring, audit, so many other services. The opportunity is endless. And the good thing is that you are not competing on price, you are competing on quality. और अगर आपका credit scoring system, अगर आपका risk management system is better than others, you will be able to charge a premium. So it's not always about providing the cheapest solution, it is about providing the best solution in a lot of cases. So for our finance people, the brighter ones who are able to take advantage of this wave, who are able to develop this skill set, they will be able to, inshallah, do very well if they were to pursue this. And this market is growing. It's especially in Pakistan. Iska bhi koi size hi nahi hai. This is something which is being actively developed. But I can tell you that the big banks have actively started to look at it. They are partnering with fintechs. They are partnering with a lot of risk management companies to develop these tools. And this thing is going to grow exponentially from here.
Thank you very much, Farid Saab. Okay, I would like to take a few audience questions, some of them that are in front of me. Starting from this one, this is a good one actually. I think Faisal or Sajad, one of you can answer this one. The question goes by Mr. Syed Abbas Hasnan is, businessmen have fear from BPO if want to switch over to other BPO. How you look at it? A quick answer.
It is a difficult move, but normally होता ये है कि सारे processes की एक documentation आपकी इस तरीके की होती है और वो client की ही ownership होती है. For instance, हमने ये किया हुआ है कि every call, every communication is logged on a trouble ticketing system that we have, हमारा shared services center जिसे हम manage करते हैं, which is support.extnow.com हमने set up किया हुआ है. So all communication, all deliverables, all issues that are resolved, everything is documented there. So anytime that the customer wants, they can take it, they can take a dump of that, and all information, every single thing that every single employee of ours has ever done is documented and written over there. Sari emails, sari documents, sari files, sari processes, sari deliverables, सब उधर upload होते हैं तो download करके हम customer के हवाले कर देते हैं if you ever have to go. That's pretty much it.
Faisal sir, you want to add? You need to unmute the mic, Faisal sir.
जी, इसी हवाले से प्रेजेंटेशन में मैंने कॉन्सेप्ट दिया opportunist का. These are not short-term decisions. These are relatively medium to long-term decisions. BPO market में decisions long-term है when you're having a technology transition. So आपके पास वही वाली बात है कि अगर आपने आज एक isolation में process उठा के एक generalist को दे दिया, तो कल को अगर आपको किसी specialist के पास जाना होगा तो उस transition के लिए कोई चीज नहीं होगी. Second, BPO की मार्केट के अंदर बहुत सारे बिजनेस मॉडल मंथली बेसिस पे होते हैं और BPO वेंडर्स जिस तरह सजाद साहब ने कहा, दे आर रेडिली ऑन देयर टर्म्स ऑफ द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कैन बी फायर्ड ऑन अ मंथ नोटिस और अ 3 month साइकिल. सो दे आर फार मोर प्रिपेयर्ड बिकॉज जिस बेसिस पर उन्होंने ट्रांजिशन की होती है वही ट्रांजिशन उनके पास तैयार होती है. और जब आप क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग जैसे कॉन्सेप्ट की बात करते हैं, जब आप डिजिटल सॉल्यूशंस की बात करते हैं, सर डेटा उसमें 24/7 आप ही के पास होता है. तो आपने अगर किसी को स्विच करना है तो यू हैव एम्पल टाइम टू प्रिपेयर योरसेल्फ और वही टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस डाली जाती हैं. तो इस किस्म के स्विच ओवर में इंपॉर्टेंट बात ये है कि आपके पास वेंडर की सिलेक्शन जो है वो एटलीस्ट अ मीडियम टर्म डिसीजन.
Thank you, Faisal Saab. Achha, there is another question I think which I want Sajad Iftikhar Saab to answer. The question is from Mr. Shajil and he says that how can specialist services like CFO and other senior level positions be outsourced and how should the GCC market be targeted as there may be significant demand? Sajad sir, before you answer that, one of our chartered accountants is actually working and some of them I know are doing the virtual CFO role. So Sajad sir, your quick take on this one.
So असद साहब, इसके ऊपर अगर हम लोग वन फाइन डे सिर्फ ये कर लें कि जी एक CFO फंक्शन इन इट्स एंटायरिटी आउटसोर्स हो सकता है टू अ BPO फर्म, then it will be a big ask because CFO को हम लोगों को पहले डिसाइड कर लेना कि CFO के फंक्शंस में है क्या. Is it a large scale organization CFO role? Then he must be heading the IT dotted line reporting to him. He must be managing group finances. He must be responsible for reporting function of the group and stuff. For a very senior or large scale organizations, outsourcing the role of CFO may be a difficult thing, and perhaps the last thing that an organization may want to do once they are outsourcing certain stuff. But below that CFO role, there are a lot of things that can be done. Like I mentioned, taxation outsourced that we are doing, portfolio management, mutual fund industry is there. You can outsource and take those services. If you are a group of companies, you can establish your own shared service center where you can connect the various processes, like we mentioned, payroll, purchase and payable, revenue receivables. These functions can be consolidated across the group companies to a center, shared service center. But outsourcing the role of a CFO in a large scale organization may be difficult, because a CFO is not a procedural type of things that he's doing. He's an intellect. He's a business partner for the growth plans of the company. So either you want to outsource this thing to a firm level, to a BPO level, then he must be strategic partners of yours. So you need to decide between what level of organization you are talking about once you are outsourcing that CFO role.
Thank you, Sujat sir. Before I take the last two questions, I have an announcement to make. We have got an online poll going on. For those of the members and participants who have not yet completed the poll, please complete it, because our IT team will be closing it in 5 minutes so that we can show the results as well of our poll. Okay, moving forward, I have a question for Farid Saab. It is from Usman Zafar. It says, what options a BPO has safeguard itself from data breach risk, like specialized insurance products, etc.? Farid Saab, did you get this one?
Yeah, so data security is certainly a very important aspect when you are choosing a BPO vendor. Or isme, insurance is certainly, yes, helpful, but insurance doesn't cover the damage that would occur to your reputation. And while you may be covered financially, it can never compensate for the reputational damage that might happen. And we have seen so many instances globally that even big firms like Uber have suffered data breaches where customer data was stolen. They were themselves securing them. So clearly, this is something which is at the top of mind of any organization when they are considering business processing outsourcing. But iske andar, there are different levels, and certainly the different levels of data. और इसमें हम ये कह सकते हैं कि even data security is a very specialist function, and a lot of BPO firms should not shy from securing services of third parties to secure that data by professionals. So a BPO firm might be very good at HR processing or providing internal audit services, for example. But data security is a specialist subject, so there is no harm in hiring a third party or a specialist firm which can look out for that risk for you. So all I can say is that for firms, especially in the financial sector, this is something which comes at the top, even I think before the cost concerns. And those BPO firms who take this seriously and who have professionals managing this risk, or a third party which is specialized in this to cover this risk for them, would certainly be a preferred choice, because otherwise the consequences both for the user as well as for the BPO firm can be quite disastrous.
Thank you, Farid.
If I can just add to this, generally BPO companies are very sensitive to this and data security, because this loss can happen to, as Farid Saab ne kaha, this type of breach can only happen once for them, because then they would lose like a majority of their business. So generally, yes, most companies are very sensitive, and they do invest in systems, processes, and technologies to ensure security breach. Most good companies would do it, because if they lose one customer's data once, that's it. I mean, they have to shut down shop.
I would also like to add, when it comes to data security, Asad, what I experienced in the past 10 years, multinationals outsource to ensure confidentiality. And with local companies, for the past 10 years, you spend days talking about security. It's a very different mindset, in the local sector and with multinational. And at the end of the day, there are standards to speak about when it comes to confidentiality. As Sajjad Saab mentioned, that you are a specialized vendor. So without security, you cannot be specialized. Whether you have an encryption, whether you have the tier 4 data centers, whether you have pen test, these are the prerequisites to be in the business. So these security considerations in turn us to become outsourced, because the way Farid Saab just mentioned, I don't use my own infrastructure for data for my server hosting. I have outsourced it to IBM on their tier 4 data center. So security is something which you can talk about. There are global standards available to it. And the thing is, you follow those standards and make yourself secure. So it's a major hassle with all the time with local sector. We are endlessly debating about cloud. When I'd always tell them that sir, don't you think Intel is worried? Don't you think Walmart is worried? Everyone is worried, but there are ways to address those things. Back to you, sir.
थैंक यू फैसल साहब. सजाद, वन फाइनल क्वेश्चन जो आई थिंक बहुत से लोगों ने मुख्तलिफ तरीकों से पूछा है, उसको मैं समराइज कर रहा हूँ बगैर किसी का नाम लिए. हमारे जो यंग चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स हैं वो ये जानना चाहते हैं कि ये जो सारा बीपीओ का कॉन्सेप्ट है, क्या वाकई चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स की एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी को इंक्रीज कर सकता है, और कुछ हद तक जो जनरली इंडस्ट्री में एक स्टॉपेज सा आया हुआ है, क्या ये उस गैप को या उस वैक्यूम को फिलअप करने में हेल्प कर सकता है? सजाद इफ्तिखार साहब
जी. अच्छा साहब, इस चीज़ का जवाब जो है ना फैसल साहब की प्रेजेंटेशन में आ गया था. तो कैसे, फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर हम लोग 10 मुख्तलिफ कंपनियां ऑपरेट कर रही हैं, उस कंपनी का अगर सिर्फ बिजनेस प्रोसेस अपना अगर रन करने की ट्रांजैक्शन प्रोसेसिंग का एक बजट है, दे कैन अफोर्ड एन इंडिविजुअल हु कैन have a salary of 40 to 45,000 rupees because that's what their budget allows. अगर यही 10 ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस मिलके ये टैक्सेशन का रोल, ये पेरोल रिलेटेड रोल या ये पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजमेंट का रोल अगर देखना चाहें तो ये कितना पूल दे सकती हैं. मे बी 300,000 की सैलरी भी कम होगी, but the value that the individual is contributing. So it's about professionalism. So once the things are moving to the professional roles, so इसका मतलब है bandwidth increase हो रही है. So a chartered accountant can be a payroll manager for 10 of the organizations. He is having a taxation knowledge, he is having an IT knowledge, he is having the business process knowledge. So the organization or a BPO firm can afford to have a person worth 300,000 rupees who can just manage payroll of 10 companies. Versus this, if you talk about at an individual level, a company may not be able to afford more than 60-65,000 rupees. So जो professionalism और ये specialist role की involvement है, that will lead to more and more inculcation of chartered accountants into diverse roles. So sir, that is brief about that.
Thank you very much, Sajjad Sahab. I hate to pause this wonderful discussion. We will certainly have more sessions on this topic considering the huge interest of our audience. Overall, it has been a wonderful session. We learned that chartered accountants can definitely become key part of BPO sector, which promises huge potential, especially in wake of pandemic of COVID-19. It is a useful diversification from our routine services as well. You can either set up a BPO as an entrepreneur, or you can seek employment in an established BPO. You need to acquire the right skill set to excel in this field. And very important that you need to have a mindset to be a strategic partner, as Sajjad Sayyid Saab said. If you believe in yourself, then you will surely reach the zenith. It is the right time to think differently and innovate. In words of Dr. Albert, innovation is seeing what everybody has seen and thinking what nobody has thought. I would like to thank all our panelists, Mr. Farid Khan, Mr. Sajjad Sayyid, Mr. Faisal Kamar, and Mr. Sajjad Iftikhar for their wonderful insights. Have a great evening. Over to our host, Mr. Ali Saif Chima, Chairman CPD Committee Law. and member NRC. Ali Saab.
Thank you, Ustad Saab. Thank you, panelists, for such a wonderful. Ji, sir. Thank you, Saab. Thank you for the wonderful discussion.
A pleasure.
Chiva Saab's voice is waking up. I think now we can invite our session chairman, Mr. Rana Usman Khan.
बहुत सारी चीजें बाकी हैं जो that I get to जी. जी. Hello.
Chiva Saab, I think let's hear Rana Usman Saab, our vice president, for this being the session chair. Rana Saab.
Okay, जी Rana.
मैंने कहा पहले आप फैसला कर लो इनवाइट किसने करना है, अली ने करना है या असद ने करना है?
तो वॉइस पूरी जी हमने कहा कि
अरे ये आई थिंक ये टेक्नोलॉजी के
आप इनवाइट हो गए हैं.
इनवाइट हो गए. नहीं जी, हम इनवाइट नहीं हो गए, हम तो होस्ट हैं बेसिकली. आई एम प्राउड टू बी होस्ट ऑफ सच अ वंडरफुल speakers. Mashallah, Faisal, very deep insight and insightful presentation. Sajjad Mustafa से अब बेहतर कौन जानता है कि BPO services क्या हो सकती हैं. Farid sir, mashallah, as a user of these services and even offerer of these services. So just I think formality है. मेरे 4 अल्फाज. मैं एक चीज सोच रहा था अभी थोड़ी देर पहले कि this COVID has brought a lot of changes to us. ये वेबिनार्स जब से शुरू हुए हैं और इन पर्सन मीटिंग्स जो है वो जब से ख़त्म हुई हैं, इस वक्त के सेमिनार्स जो हमारी ट्रेडिशन थी, लाइक जो हम 7:30 बजे शुरू करते थे और 9 बजे ख़त्म करते थे, तो जनरली सेशन चेयरमैन के पास ये प्राइड होती थी कि वो डिनर के लिए इनवाइट करता था हैंड पे. और अब मुझे आपको मज़ीद जो है वो बॉदर करना है टू दी होल ऑडियंस विद माय व्यूज़ और फिर कहना है कि अपने अपने घरों से खाना खा लें. तो दिस इज समथिंग जो हमारी रिवायत कभी नहीं रही है, बट फॉर्चुनेटली और अनफॉर्चुनेटली दिस टेक्नोलॉजी और दिस कोविड सिचुएशन हैज ब्रॉट अस टू दिस पॉइंट कि जहां हमें ये करना पड़ता है. But anyhow, formally, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, Mr. Faisal Kamardiwardi, speaker of this evening, honorable panelist, particularly Sajjad Mustafa, Farid Saab, and our colleague Sajjad, dear guests, friends and colleagues, Assalamu alaikum and very good evening. I think I don't need to say anything about this topic, that it was interesting or it was effective, because the participation I could see, the audience who joined in the beginning, they are still staying actually, so that reflects the interest of the people, and definitely topic being interested of their interest, though they are here for last 2.5 hours to listen to all of these worthy speakers and having these experiences, जिन्होंने सिर्फ टॉपिक पे बात नहीं की है, बल्कि मुझे तो लग रहा था, and that is braveness of them, all of them basically, the courage they had. Like सज्जाद ने जो बहुत सारी चीजें बता दी हैं, उस पे अमल हमने खुद करना है कि भाई अकाउंटेंट्स भी अगर ये करना चाहे तो they can always do it. और फैसल, very thankful to you, आपने भी अपने बहुत सारे बिजनेस सीक्रेट्स हमें बताए. अकाउंटेंट्स में से कम ही ख्वाब देखते हैं, लेकिन इट्स गुड कि आपने ख्वाब देखे, आप देख रहे हैं, एंड कीप आई मीन हैविंग दीज ड्रीम्स, और अल्लाह ताला आपके ये जो ख्वाब हैं इनको सच्चा साबित करे और आपको बहुत सारी तरक्कियां अता फरमाए. Definitely it's a very interesting, effective topic of very relevant topic of the day, topic of the time, जिससे डेफिनेटली बहुत सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं हमारे मेंबर्स के लिए. इफ दे वांट टू बी एंटरप्रेन्योर, ऑफ कोर्स दे कैन सेट अप, हैव देयर सेटअप्स लाइक फैसल हैज सेट अप, एंड सजाद, ऑल्दो सजाद हमारी फर्टर्निटी से नहीं है, लेकिन हमारी फर्टर्निटी के साथ इतना वक्त गुजारा है कि आई ट्रीट हिम एज अकाउंटेंट्स एक्चुअली, नॉट आईटी एक्सपर्ट्स. and definitely we must continue having these relations. लेकिन 2-3 चीजें जो मैं देख रहा था, these are very important, कि अगर आप ये सेटअप करना चाहते हैं तो आई थिंक इट्स ऑल टुगेदर अ माइंडसेट चेंज. ट्रेनिंग्स, क्योंकि हमें शायद जो जनरल ट्रेनिंग्स मिलती हैं, इट्स नॉट ऑफ आउटसोर्सिंग. हम शायद क्लाइंट खुद चीजें हैंडल कर रहे होते हैं, वी जस्ट सर्व दिस, आई मीन गाइड देम व्हाट टू डू इन दोस सिचुएशंस, उनके एरियाज ऑफ वर्क. बेसिकली व्हेन यू टेक ओवर देम एंड यू स्टार्ट डूइंग देयर वर्क, then definitely it has a lot of challenges to even हमारा जो कल्चर है पाकिस्तान का, इसमें ये ट्रस्ट बिल्ड करना, उनको कन्विंस करना कि यस ये आपके कोर सर्विसेज हैं, ये आपकी नॉन कोर एरियाज हैं, आपने यहाँ फोकस करना है. बिकॉज हमारी एक टेंडेंसी शायद ये है कि वी वांट टू डू एवरीथिंग. बिजनेसमैन भी जो बिजनेस अपना सेटअप करता है वो समझता है कि मैं हर चीज़ का एक्सपर्ट हूँ और मुझे सब कुछ करना चाहिए. और शायद ये हमारे प्रोफेशन की एक बड़ी अचीवमेंट थी कि हम ओवर डिकेड्स जो हमारा सेट है बेसिकली, उसको वो डायरी वाले अकाउंट से निकाल के, जिसमें वो शाम को जब अपने फैक्ट्री के गेट पे बैठ के सारा दिन जो उसको कैश रिसीव होता था और जो स्टॉक रिसीव होता था और जो डिलीवर करते थे, उससे निकल के उसने वो चीज़ें अपने उस अकाउंटेंट को जिसको उसने एम्प्लॉय रखा जब हैंड ओवर की, तो आई थिंक दैट वाज अ बिग चेंज इन माय व्यू. और हमने बीइंग प्रोफेशनल अकाउंटेंट्स उनको परसुएड किया कि यस यू कैन ट्रस्ट अस, वी आर आई मीन विद यू, पार्ट ऑफ योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. लेकिन अब वहां से निकल के ट्रस्टिंग समबडी हु इज नॉट पार्ट ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, जिसके ऊपर उसका हर वक्त का एक्सेस नहीं है, कंट्रोल नहीं है, तो डेफिनेटली इट्स अ बिग चैलेंज फॉर ऑल दोज जो कि इसके एंटरप्रेन्योर बनेंगे. और एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज होगा टू डेवलप दैट ट्रस्ट. ऑफ कोर्स ट्रस्ट बिल्डिंग में पहले भी हम अक्सर ये बात करते हैं कि क्वालिटी ऑफ सर्विस इज द वन एस्पेक्ट. अगर आपका जो बायर है, कस्टमर है सर्विस का, इफ ही इज कन्विंस्ड कि आप उसको क्वालिटी सर्विस देंगे, तो डेफिनेटली हाफ ऑफ द ट्रस्ट इज देयर. द सेकंड इज द रेलेवेंस. अब जनरली हम कंसल्टेंट्स के बारे में बहुत सारी जो है वो बातें सुनते हैं, खुद भी करते हैं, और हमारा प्रोफेशन भी हम अक्सर बीइंग ऑडिटर भी यही कहते हैं कि जी हम क्लाइंट पे जाते हैं, उनसे सवाल करते हैं, उनसे सीखते हैं, और फिर जो नॉलेज उनसे गेन किया होता है उसी को यूज करते हुए उनको ऑडिट करते हैं और फिर उनको बताते हैं आपने ये गलत किया, इसको ठीक कर. सो आई मीन टू एन एक्सटेंट हमारी ट्रेनिंग है कि हम उनके बिजनेसेस को अंडरस्टैंड करें, उनकी नीड्स को अंडरस्टैंड करें और अकॉर्डिंगली जो सोल्यूशन उनको चाहिए वो प्रोवाइड करें. बट आई थिंक ड्यूरिंग ऑल दिस प्रोसेस अगर हम रेलेवेंट रहेंगे, अगर हम एथिकल स्टैंडर्ड्स को फॉलो करेंगे with quality, so I think these three elements will definitely develop that trust which is to be built, that gap which is there to be bridged, or जो relevant जो reliance है of your customer while they are, let's say, parting away with certain part of their services or certain areas to a person who is coming from outside. Of course उसके आने के benefits जरूर है. सजाद ने जैसे कहा कि जो बाहर से आएगा उस पर रिलायंस ज्यादा होती है, और ये हम अक्सर अपने प्रोफेशन में देखते हैं. लाइक किसी क्लाइंट का सीएफओ जो शायद मुझसे सीनियर है, लेकिन मैं जब एज ऑडिटर या कंसल्टेंट उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जाता हूँ, तो जो उसका एंटरप्रेन्योर है, मशवरे पे ज्यादा रिलायंस प्लेस करता है. मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, बट certainly he wants somebody to the extent of an advice. ये element different है, but to the extent of, let's say, giving away certain part of your activities and then connecting that activity with core activity, and then I mean combining this and running that business, वो शायद ज्यादा बड़ा ट्रस्ट रिक्वायर करता है. और वो ट्रस्ट ऑफ कोर्स क्वालिटी ऑफ सर्विस से, रेलेवेंस से, एज टेक्नोलॉजी. आई थिंक मुझे होस्ट ने म्यूट कर दिया शायद. दे वांट के मैं अब यहाँ पे बंद कर दूं.
ख्याल है जिसकी थोड़ी वॉइस ब्रेक होती है होस्ट उसे म्यूट कर देता है. अभी मैं तो घबरा के बोल नहीं रहा था, मेरा ख्याल था मेरा कनेक्शन अनस्टेबल है.
अच्छा. तो इज इट स्टेबल नाउ और स्टिल अनस्टेबल? But anyway, I think I've said what I wanted to. लेकिन इस सारे डेवलपमेंट में आई थिंक एक चीज बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, वी नीड टू बी इनोवेटिव. जितना हम टेक्नोलॉजी से भी होंगे, इनोवेशंस की तरफ जाएंगे, उतने ही रेलेवेंस और क्वालिटी भी डेफिनेटली उसमें आती है और वो मैट्रिक करती है. Yes, challenges are there, but of course we have people like Faisal, Sajjad, Fareed to guide us, and let's take their guidance. आज एक शायद अच्छा आगाज है, but taking it further, हम और बहुत सारे ऐसे सेशंस करें जो कस्टमाइज्ड हों, जिसमें हमारे यंगस्टर्स जो इस एरिया में सर्विस में आना चाहते हैं उनकी. और once again I would like to congratulate the organizers for selecting such a relevant topic, interesting topic, and bringing together such galaxy of presenters and panelists and such relevant people of this topic. And of course special thanks to all speakers and panelists for sparing their valuable time. और खासतौर पे इस वक्त रात को 9:30 बजे, जो कि शायद हमारे जनरली डिनर का टाइम है, तो आप एक सर्विस कर रहे हैं जिसका इन्होंने सिवाय शुक्रिया अदा करने का आपको पे भी कुछ नहीं करना. तो चले वो शुक्रिया जो इन्होंने अदा करना है वो इनके बिहाफ पे मैं कर देता हूँ. And a lot of appreciations to all participants, those who have stayed with us. I mean, I could see still the number is close to what they have joined in the beginning. With this, many sincere prayers for all of you for these challenging times, to stay safe, stay protected, and inshallah looking forward to have a great future ahead. Not for this line of service, for other lines of services and the relations we have. And inshallah we stay in touch, keep in touch, and keep growing these relations. Once again, thank you very much, and Allah Hafiz.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rana Saab. I hope मेरी आवाज आ रही है इस वक्त. असद साहब, kindly confirm करें.
जो आप में से take over करना चाहिए.
Thank you very much, Rana Saab. We are honored to have you present. I mean, Vice President ICAP. तो अभी खैर अब डिस्कशन के बाद मैं कुछ कहना चाह रहा था, और एग्जैक्टली कहना चाह रहा था कि इट्स वंडरफुल डिस्कशन, और इसमें बहुत सारी चीज़ें क्लियर हुई हैं, बट अमीन बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं जो अभी क्लियर होना बाकी हैं. और मैं क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन देख रहा था, ये जो क्वेश्चन आंसर चल रहे थे मेंबर्स के, तो वेरी पर्टिनेंट क्वेश्चन और बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन हैं दैट स्टिल टू बी आंसर्ड, और वो डेफिनेटली जाहिर है टाइम के साथ आंसर होंगे, लेकिन डेफिनेटली इट्स ये एक रास्ता है जिस पे हमें चलना है, और डेफिनेटली जिसमें बहुत सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं, और हम कोशिश करेंगे कि इंशाल्लाह इस पे हम इस डिस्कशन को हम कंटिन्यू करें. जिस तरह राना साहब ने भी एडवाइस किया कि इसके ऊपर हमें कपल ऑफ मोर सेशंस, और जिस तरह क्वेश्चंस थे जी, डाटा ओनरशिप, डाटा प्रोटेक्शन, ट्रांजिशन फ्रॉम वन बीपीओ टू अदर, फिर ये भी क्वेश्चन थे कि अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट के चांसेस भी हैं, अगर वो बीपीओ में किसी जगह पे काम जा रहा है तो कहीं से काम निकल भी रहा है. तो अमीन बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जिस पे हमें निकालना है. तो थैंक यू वेरी मच राना साहब, हमारे मॉडरेटर असद फिरोज साहब, चेयरमैन एनआरसी, हमारे पैनलिस्ट फैसल कमर साहब, सजाद मुस्तफा सैयद साहब, फरीद अहमद खान साहब, सजाद साहब, जो हमारा स्टाफ है, स्टाफ. सो थैंक यू वेरी मच, एंड थैंक यू ऑडियंस की पार्टिसिपेशन, दैट वाज अमेजिंग, और जो क्वेश्चंस और क्वेश्चन की सिलेक्शन है, दैट्स अमेजिंग. सो विल ट्राई टू कंटिन्यू a couple of more sessions on this topic inshallah. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay ji, Allah Hafiz, take care, bye bye.
Thank you.
Allah Hafiz.
Thank you, Allah Hafiz. Thank you very much.